Morning Date. With a distinguished career in Her Majesty's diplomatic service, Ambassador Charles Hay is currently the head of mission at the British Embassy in Seoul, following other foreign posts including the Czech Republic, Spain, and Brussels. Morning Date starts now. Welcome to another edition of Morning Date, a segment where we get to sit and chat with outstanding figures from all fields and walks of life. And today we have the pleasure and honor of sitting down with British Ambassador to Korea, Charles Hay. Good morning, sir, and welcome to the show.
네, 안녕하십니까.
Wait, are you Korean?
네, 주한국 영국 대사 찰스입니다. 반갑습니다.
Your Korean's so good.
That's very kind of you to say so, but it's great to be here. Thank you very much for inviting me onto the show.
Well, thank you for being here. I mean, it's an early morning hour if, think about it. So we really, really are grateful that you're here. We want to know how you speak Korean so well, but I'm going to ask you that quite soon. Before that, let's give our listeners a quiz. What is the capital of the United Kingdom? Is it number 1, London, 2, Oxford, or 3, Cambridge? One more time, the capital of the United Kingdom is number 1, London, 2, Oxford, or 3, Cambridge. If you know the answer, use our bandi KakaoTalk Plus for free or text to pound 1045. 정답뿐만이 아니라요, 방송 소감이나 대사님께 궁금한 질문이 있으시면 지금 또 보내주시면 됩니다. 저희가 5분을 뽑아서 트러스트북스에서 펴낸 영국 컬러링 여행책을 보내드립니다. Yeah, this prize, it's a coloring book with details of each of the the British monuments. Yeah, it's going to be a fun time coloring in the Big Ben, the double-deckers and whatnot. So it will be a great prize. All right. Ambassador Charles Hay, you've been here since 2015 as the ambassador, right? But that wasn't your first time coming to Korea, I hear.
No, it wasn't. Before I started as ambassador, I was lucky enough to spend some time learning Korean. So I spent some time learning Korean in London and then a bit more time in Seoul. And then I was lucky enough to do a homestay before I started my job.
Oh, a homestay. Was that in Seoul?
No, I wanted to do a homestay somewhere other than Seoul because I knew I'd be living here for quite some time. So I wanted to get to know the second biggest city of Korea. So I decided to do a homestay in Busan.
Really? So do you have the Busan accent?
야, 아니요. 사투리 없어요.
Oh, no 사투리? No dialect? That's okay. But no wonder your Korean was so good. I mean, did you study through like an institution or were you privately tutored or did you study yourself?
In London, we have our own Foreign Office language school, and there you could literally learn any language in the world. And in Korea, in Seoul, I was lucky enough to study alongside American colleagues at the American Embassy. But in Busan, I had a private tutor who helped me.
Okay. So how was your experience during the homestay? When did you stay? You stayed at a Korean home, I'm guessing, right? Was it like a house or an apartment or a villa?
I stayed in an apartment, which was another new experience for me because I've only ever really lived in houses before. But it was a wonderful apartment high up in a high-rise building in the middle of Busan. And yes, I lived with a family, so I got to see something of Korean family life as well.
Mm-hmm. So do you still keep in touch with them?
I do, absolutely. I see them now and again, and I do go to Busan very often. Most recently, just last week, with a group of British veterans here for the Korean War Veterans Revisit Program.
So it's kind of like your hometown in Korea, almost.
Yeah, I guess so.
Well, your first hometown, I would have to say, because now you've been living in Seoul for many years, right? Then, did you experience the Korean food culture too?
I did. So we ate Korean food in the house, but also I was taken out and I came across dishes like shabu shabu and sujebi and lots of other Korean dishes too. So I learned a lot about Korean food and culture. Okay,
so are you okay with spicy food?
I'm pretty much okay, although my worst experience, I think my biggest mistake was choosing 매운 돼지갈비, which was just a bit too much for me.
I see. So you went with the standard spiciness, though, right?
Right.
Because there are different variations of the spiciness. If you go for the really, really extremely spicy one, oh dear, I can't even try it. It's so spicy.
Well, I learned that on that day and never again.
Well, yeah, Korean food is pretty spicy, but it's also pretty good as well. So, what is your favorite Korean food, if you had to choose one?
It's difficult because there's so much, but I think the most memorable dishes I've had are megitang, which I
Wow.
very much adore, which is quite spicy but extremely tasty. And when I visited Andong, when I was studying Korean, Andong chimtalg, which I really enjoyed as well.
안동 찜닭. Well, Park Hyung-nim also asked the same question, what's your favorite food in Korea? So I guess that's also another question that a lot of our listeners have for you. But besides food, talking more about the culture, maybe, there has to be some form of culture shock living in a foreigner's home, right? Especially in that foreign country. Was there a pleasant surprise or a culture shock that you experienced there?
Lots of new cultural experiences. So one, for example, the fact that nobody wears shoes in the house, which is a really sensible idea, but it's not something that we generally do in Britain. So I've got used to taking my shoes off a lot, and I've even bought pairs of slip-on shoes to make life easier for myself.
Oh.
So that was one interesting thing. And I think if I think about my best experiences of Korean culture, it was being asked to preside over the weddings of two of my Korean colleagues, to be the chore, I think it's called.
Yeah, chudae, exactly. Well, how did that go? Did you do it in Korean?
I didn't. We had an interpreter each time, but it makes you think a lot about marriage and about what people are undertaking when you have to talk about it in that way. So it was a very meaningful experience.
Then what was your number one advice for the newlyweds?
It was to keep on communicating with your partner and I think generally when things are going wrong between partners, it's because they're not communicating well with each other.
Okay. Well, on the lines of Korean culture, 백은치님, one of our listeners, asked, what is the most interesting thing about Korean culture to you? Besides the no shoes policy at home.
I think it's the way that Koreans look at society, and there's a sense of real solidarity between Korean peoples, and you see that in all sorts of ways. So obvious ones are people put their surname first before their first name, which is the opposite to the way we do in the West. When you write the address on an envelope, you start with the city and work your way down to the street and the
Right.
house, whereas we do it the other way around. So those are the trivial aspects of it. But much more fundamentally, I've discovered that Koreans have a very strong sense of identity as a people, which is, I think, quite unusual.
Yeah, we saw that a lot, especially during the FIFA World Cup that was held in Korea in 2002. And we really like to get together when it's something national, right? And football is also another big thing in England as well. We'll talk about that a little later. But, you've been here for now maybe 3 years, right, as the ambassador. I'm pretty sure you've done a lot of traveling, too, within the country.
I have. So even just this week, I was in Jeonju for the Jeonju International Film Festival, where a British director, Michael Winterbottom, was featured in some of his films. And when I think about where I've been in Korea, I think it's harder to say where I haven't been than where I have been. And that's one of the fortunate things about being a diplomat. You get to travel a lot. But there are places that I haven't yet been. So on my list to do before I leave, I want to go to Jeollanam-do and to the islands around there, which I haven't seen. And I've been to Chirisan with my family, but I'd like to climb up Halasan on Jeju-do.
Wow. See, I think you've probably been to more places in Korea than me. And I've lived here for 15, 20 years straight now. So I'm kind of envious and jealous about that. If you had a foreign friend come to Korea, what would be the first place that would come up to your mind to take them to?
So I would take them to Hwaemol.
Hwaemol.
Yes, in Andong province, which is it's spectacular, and I don't think it could exist anywhere else other than in Korea. And it's so unspoilt and so beautiful.
Right, untouched as well. And you can see history there. I still haven't been to the Hwaemol, so I should put that on my list. Okay, well, talking about traveling and destinations, if you were to then tell a Korean where to go in England, then where would you tell them to go? Like a secret place that you only know and none of the tour guides tell you about.
Wow, that's a tricky one. Well, the thing is that lots of Koreans obviously visit Britain, but most of them tend to spend a lot of time in London or in cities. And I would strongly urge people to travel outside the cities and get to know a bit more of the country. So I'm actually from Scotland. And Scotland is a wild and unspoilt place with amazing mountains, with heather moorlands, lots of places for sightseeing and walking, with historic castles. And at the end of a long day's walking, you can relax with a glass of whiskey or play a game of golf.
Ah.
But there are lots of other places in England with beautiful countryside. So Cornwall, for example, again, not that well known, I would think, maybe to Koreans, but a very beautiful, rugged coastline with beautiful old fishing villages. Surf, if you want to surf, probably more sun than the rest of the UK.
Right.
So I would say those two would be the sort of less well-frequented places that you could visit.
Okay, well, that's exactly what you did, right? You did a homestay in Busan. You went more to the, a smaller size city than Seoul to kind of get that more Korean feel or experience. So I think that's great advice. And that would be great advice, especially for Lee Seung-won, because he's going to go to England on vacation this year. Wow. So there are a lot of people who are interested in Great Britain and England altogether. And of course, Scotland. I haven't been to Scotland yet, but I have some Scottish friends here in Korea, a couple of them. Yeah, so I've heard amazing things about Scotland as well. All right, well, before we get into more with the details of the interview, let me remind you of the quiz question that we had. What is the capital of the United Kingdom? Number 1, London. Number 2, Oxford. Or number 3, Cambridge. If you know the correct answer, use our bandi KakaoTalk Plus for free or text to pound 1045. And 정답뿐만이 아니라요, 방송 소감이나 여러분들 궁금한 질문 많이 올라오고 있는데요. 더 많이 보내주세요. 5분을 뽑아서 트러스트북스에서 펴낸 영국 컬러링 여행책을 보내드리도록 하겠습니다. We'll be back with the interview, but first let's go to listen to this song. Oh, the iconic, legendary band from England, The Beatles, In My Life.